Donald Trump will be the president. Republicans will secure the Senate. The left can no longer tell itself that it has the popular mandate. The psychopaths who populate it no longer have the energy needed to riot. Meanwhile, the lunatic women who populate it are busy debasing themselves for our amusement, and the record of their malevolence, delusion, and incompetence is well documented. So we possess an ample supply of proof defending the superiority of the right and the depravity of the left. Moreover, the narcissism and incapacity for self reflection that characterize the left will prevent them from escaping the hole they've dug themselves into. They will remain there for a long time. So, all in all, I'd say things are good. We're winning, they're losing, and both sides are firmly entrenched in their positions. However, there is a slight problem with the current status quo. Many people speculated there would be a civil war, and some secretly longed for one. I was not one of them, but I would be lying if I said I didn't understand the appeal. Our country has a large number of sociopaths who have been able to antagonize their fellow countrymen in ways that, while technically legal, still evoke murderous rage. Yet it is illegal to maim and murder them, and these people are often so shameless, dishonest, and narcissistic that attempts to reason with them or to appeal to their sense of decency are always futile. Thus, owing to their antisociality, it is impossible to address the problems they create for themselves and others without overwhelming violent activity. But our legal system infects people with the delusion that protecting the rights of the scumbags is more important than getting rid of them. Thus, our legal system operates to ensure that the most reprehensible members of our society should be free to do as they please and vilify the dwindling population of modest people. Thus, many people secretly desire a civil war because it would provide a pretext for slaughtering the hordes of sociopaths. Such a goal is consistent with a worldview asserting that character, competence, and common decency are more important than the rights of the legion of physically repulsive psychopaths whose only aspirations consist of immiserating themselves and paying their suffering forward. However, the Civil War is not forthcoming, and it will not be. This is because of the overwhelming dominance of the right, which, in addition to being sane, controls the presidency and Congress while also garnering the support of the financiers and military industrial complex. While this development is desirable, it still leaves the tension with the left and its members' prior depravities uncut. Therefore, it behooves us to uncover methods for achieving what a civil war might have accomplished within the framework of an overwhelming Republican victory. We should begin by addressing the fat old white elephant in the room. Loser boomers run the Republican Party. They are lazy and unambitious, so they squander opportunities and allow weeds to grow until they overtake the garden. They are also cowards who fear the leftist backlash they might incur if they took meaningful action. Therefore, we should reasonably expect the Republican Party leadership to waste its temporary advantage and begin infighting. Trump is an obvious exception to the normal behavior of boomer conservatives, but he is also an old man who might conceivably die in office. So, although we should appreciate his dominance of the Republican Party, it is a mistake to rely on it. Therefore, the right's temporary advantage must be pushed by laymen because the leadership is unreliable. However, the common right winger suffers a complacency problem. Of course, now that I've critiqued the right, I suppose I should do so for the left. The message I am conveying does not need it, but I know my prior criticism of the right will evoke the ire of low IQ conservatives who need to hear me degrade the left to calm down. The left is still evil, the average flunky is still insane and malevolent, left wing leadership is incompetent, and the average woke person only exists to make life worse for themselves and others. They are the punishment we must endure for our commitment to the lie that sociopaths have rights that are worthy of protection. However, it is far better to explore areas of activity rather than to linger on the odor of repugnant people. So, we'll reflect on what a civil war might have accomplished and how similar effects might be acquired. Trump's presidency and the Republicans' dominance will be useful for addressing many problems, such as bureaucratic bloat, political polarization, and censorship issues. However, our country has many problems, and the surge in red state influence will not address others. It is conceivable that a civil war would have solved them. I will address three pertinent to the Space Guild. Now, the chief problem young people face is the loneliness epidemic. Social capital has collapsed because of the widespread antisocial behaviors of the older generations. A civil war might have resolved this by elevating leaders who would unify people around them. But the civil war is not coming, so there will be no banding together against a common enemy. Then there is the case of the flood of immigrant labor. The left wanted more immigrants, and Trump and his supporters also wanted more immigrants, albeit with the caveat that they were more competent. Both cases are disastrous for native born Americans, and a civil war would have dissuaded immigrants from coming. And, of course, there is the issue of economic inequality. The left is ostensibly against this, but their opposition is a mask. The right is more ambivalent toward inequality and will ease its growth. However, it is a genuine problem because money is power. Power is a zero sum quantity, and it matters little how much material wealth a poor person has if a rich person can kill him and buy his way out of legal consequences. A civil war would have provided opportunities to seize wealth from the rich and alleviate the gross power imbalance. We cannot rely on a civil war to address these issues, and it is unlikely that our rulers will do anything to improve the current state of affairs with regard to those topics I have addressed. Therefore, we must take it upon ourselves to address the problems the Civil War will not fix. We must begin creating new communities. It is easy to do this online, but translating an online group into a real world people is difficult. However, it is not impossible. The internet allows us to create new forms of community that have never existed before, but which might exist if a will can bring them into being. Doing so will address the loneliness epidemic and precipitate both meaning and identity. We must also protect one another from the impending surge of migrants. The coming flood of immigrant labor will displace more Americans and leave them destitute. Americans need protection from it, and the ruling class cannot be trusted to provide it. Therefore, the citizenry must adopt protectionist attitudes. Meanwhile, economic inequality and the power imbalance it drives can be countered via collective action, as the Teamsters Union and similar organizations have proven. However, many bodies once created to unify the masses against corrupt leaders have become corrupt themselves and can no longer be trusted. It is apparent that a new form of social organization can provide a much needed solution to our problems. I am building such an organization, and I call it a guild. A guild is sort of like a trade union, although it differs in that it has a cultural component as well. The cultural component allows it to scaffold new communities. Eleonarda is the first of these guilds. It is the Space Guild and operates in the aerospace and tech industries, which will be growing rapidly throughout the next several years. Our members will be a people with an economic network and a cultural apparatus. We will help one another find jobs in the booming space economy, exist as a social support network, and rebuild the cultural capital that has been allowed to disintegrate. Moreover, witnessing our successes, other visionaries can adopt our model and create their own guilds. The emergence of the guild system will enable a new society wherein communities are dedicated to aesthetics and missions that can replace the economic and cultural wasteland our parents created for us. And you can be part of it. I've conceived of the guild to be holistic to accommodate varied interests. If you want to find a job in the space sector of the economy, then the guild can help you. If you have creative potential and want to find an audience, the guild can help you there. Or, if you need a network for social or professional guidance, the guild can help you as well. And it is likely that you will, considering the state of things as they are now and as they will be going forward. There are dark times ahead. Trump's victory makes them brighter, and we should be grateful for the rays of light that peer through the clouds. However, we must not allow ourselves to become complacent. We must use the time purchased for us productively, and that means uniting in pursuit of creative and restorative goals. You can start by liking and sharing this video and subscribing to the channel. This has been Gene of the Space Guild. End transmission.